The sky was still glowing from the light of his presence when it happened. The disciples stood frozen, their eyes fixed upward, their hearts pounding in silence. Just moments before, Jesus Christ had been standing among them, alive, real, speaking words of promise and peace. And then, slowly, gently, he rose. It was not sudden, it was not frightening, it was holy. His feet lifted from the ground, his robes moved softly in the wind, and his face carried a calm, loving smile. The same hands that had healed the sick, touched the blind, and broken bread with them were now raised in blessing. No one spoke. No one dared to move. The world itself seemed to pause. Higher and higher he went until a cloud received him and he was hidden from their sight. And just like that, he was gone. A deep silence fell over the hill, the kind of silence that feels heavy and full at the same time. The disciples kept staring into the sky, hoping, maybe even expecting that he would come right back down. After everything they had seen, after the miracles, the cross, and the resurrection, maybe this was just another moment they didn't yet understand. Their hearts were full of questions. Why did he leave now? What do we do without him? Was this really the end, or just the beginning? Tears filled some of their eyes. Others stood still, trying to be strong, holding on to his last words. He had told them something important before he ascended, something they were now trying to remember clearly. You will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses. Witnesses? But how could they be witnesses without him standing beside them? As they stood there, lost in thought, suddenly two figures appeared beside them. Their clothes shone bright like lightning, their presence calm but powerful. The disciples turned, startled. "Men of Galilee," the figures said gently, "why do you stand here looking into the sky? This same Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven will come back in the same way you have seen him go." Those words settled deep into their hearts. He will come back. It was not the end. It was not goodbye forever. It was a promise. Slowly the disciples began to understand. Jesus had not left them alone. He had not abandoned them. Everything he had done, every miracle, every word, every sacrifice was leading to this moment. And now their part was beginning. They walked back to Jerusalem together, not with despair, but with a quiet hope growing inside them. Their steps were slow at first, but stronger with each passing moment. They remembered how afraid they once been, how they had run and hidden when Jesus was arrested. But now something was different. Now they had seen the risen Lord. Now they had watched him ascend in glory. Now they carried his promise. They gathered in a simple room away from the noise of the city. It was not a grand place, no decorations, no comfort, just walls, a few mats, and hearts waiting. They prayed. Day after day they prayed together. Sometimes their prayers were filled with words, other times just silence. They didn't fully understand what was coming, but they trusted him. That was enough. There were moments when fear tried to return. The same leaders who had crucified Jesus were still in power. The danger had not disappeared. But every time fear crept in, they remembered his voice. "Do not be afraid." They held on to that. As the days passed, something began to change, not around them, but within them. A quiet courage started to grow, a strength they had never felt before. It was as if his presence had not really left. It had simply changed. Then one day, everything shifted. It was early morning. The city was alive with people gathered for a festival. Inside the room, the disciples were together again, praying as they had been. Suddenly, a sound filled the air. It was like a rushing wind, loud, powerful, unstoppable. It filled the whole house, shaking the walls, stirring the air around them. The disciples looked at each other, startled, but not afraid. Then something even more amazing happened. What looked like small flames of fire appeared above each of them, resting gently, not burning, but glowing with light. And in that moment, they felt it. Power. Not human strength, not courage they created on their own. This was something from heaven. The Holy Spirit had come, just as Jesus had promised. Their fear disappeared completely. In its place was boldness, joy, a deep, unshakable peace. They began to speak, but not in their own language alone. Words flowed from them in ways they had never learned, languages from far places, voices filled with power and truth. Outside, people gathered, confused by the sound. "How is this possible?" they asked. "These are ordinary men. How can they speak like this?" But it wasn't them. It was the Spirit of God working through them. One of the disciples, Peter, the same Peter who had once denied even knowing Jesus, stepped forward. His heart was steady. His voice was strong. He began to speak to the crowd. He spoke of Jesus' life, his miracles, his love. He spoke of the cross, not as a defeat, but as a victory. And he spoke of the resurrection, how death could not hold him. The people listened, really listened. Something moved in their hearts. "Brothers," they said, "what shall we do?" And Peter answered, "Turn back to God, be baptized, receive the gift he has promised." That day, thousands believed. Thousands. The message of Jesus began to spread, not slowly, not quietly, but like fire in the wind. This was what happened next. Not silence, not emptiness, but life, purpose. The disciples were no longer just followers. They were messengers, carriers of hope, lights in a world that had been dark for so long. They traveled to different places, facing danger, rejection, and hardship. Some were imprisoned, some were beaten, some even gave their lives. But they did not stop, because they knew something the world could not take from them. Jesus was alive, and he was coming again. Every step they took, every word they spoke, carried that truth. And even though they could no longer see him with their eyes, they felt him with them, in their hearts, in their courage, in the spirit that guided them. The story did not end on that hill where he ascended. It had only just begun, and it continues even now, because the same promise he gave them still stands today. He did not leave to be distant. He ascended to reign, to prepare, to send his Spirit, and to remind us that this world is not the end of the story. There is more. There is always more with him. So when life feels uncertain, when the sky seems quiet, when it feels like you are standing there, looking up, wondering what comes next, remember them. Remember that hill. Remember the promise. He will come back. And until that day, you are not alone. His Spirit is still here. His love is still reaching. His story is still unfolding through hearts willing to believe. And just like those first followers, you are part of what happens next.